Hi there team, welcome back to the channel, welcome to my overview of Headquarters World War II. So for those not across it, I do overviews and reviews pretty much daily on the channel, and when I do one of these overviews, I just look at the first 2 hours of the game. Well, in this case I've done 3 hours, but it's a little bit different. But this being the Steam refund window, Steam thinks that you can make up your mind whether you want to keep a game or not, and I agree. And generally speaking, I would say 20 hours in, you're not going to change your mind about a game from what you thought 2 hours in. So this is a little bit different. I played a bit of it like a month or two ago when it came out on the channel. Did a few sort of Let's Play episodes before we pivoted back into reviews in full. And I thought I'd just go back to it, touch on it, check it out, and do an overview while there was a little bit of a dip and I had some space to cover it. So this game's great, actually. It really did sneak up on me and come out of nowhere. It has some very big similarities to The Troop, which is kind of a more indie game than this. A lot of people probably missed it. This is coming out of Slytherin, who are still in this space, fairly prolific. But as far as this sort of World War II turn-based movement type game, yeah, The Troop has a lot of commonalities. And they both do the same thing where there's like a sort of action XCOM cinematic cam. I don't know how else to describe it, but you know, when you line up a really good shot, and they do it here, and it works, again, in both games quite brilliantly. Especially when you're doing like World War II tank battles. It's quite thrilling, actually, for something that's ultimately just a turn-based strategy. So it's really cool to see that XCOM camera adopted, still within the same genre, you could argue, but across a different theme, and again, moving almost from infantry to armor. I also thought it was worth covering this as well, because Men of War 2 came out, and while I was quite impressed and enjoyed it, there seems to be a lot of salty, angry, cranky people that aren't huge fans of it. And I would suggest check this out. Even though it's not real time, it may tickle that World War II itch. In fact, we've really been eating well for World War II themed strategy games, because Classified was earlier in the year as well, which is slightly different again. That's much more towards XCOM, more infantry tactics and turn-based. But yeah, this is really, really quite impressive. You know, the only downside, I suppose, is what is inherently implicit in the particular genre itself, which is to say, because it is turn-based and you move everything, and it is quite punchy and fast, and you can skip animations, and like, it's not exactly super granular complex. Your dudes move, your dudes shoot, and they pretty much let their stat lines reflect their effectiveness. But if you do have, you know, 20 units on each side, and you also have maybe transport trucks to ride them around in, it is one of those things that just finishing one scenario will take you, you know, 30 to 60 minutes. Now, that might actually be a plus in some people's minds, but it was one of those things I thought would be worth mentioning. So at the moment I'm working my way through sort of the main campaign, which is very much analogous to the URA allied US invasion of Normandy onwards. So it goes through Overlord, and currently, you can probably see in the B-roll, I'm up to Carentan, and I made the mistake of filling up my squad with tanks, and the game is kind of teaching me very early that that's probably not the play in a built-up cityscape, which is cool, actually. It's good to see that sort of pushback, because you would be mad to just roll tanks first into this sort of setting. But it's cool, in between, there is a narrative, such as it is, you know, it's fairly thin and basic, and some voiceovers between missions, and your character that you play seems to be leveling up. You know, my guy just got promoted from captain through to major, and that's unlocking game mechanics. So that's less experience driven and more objective mission driven ranking, but you can sort of swap and buy and upgrade your core troops, and also your commander gets some more abilities as well. So there's sort of an RPG light mechanic to it. I guess it adds some stuff to it, but it's not exactly the core attraction that will make or break the game. Truly, that is in the sort of details and the different units, and they do actually have a really big difference between them. Examples being, you know, like flamethrower troops are very effective point blank. I managed to actually get them up against an enemy convoy, and they were just shredding half tracks and everything. So they're very, very hard to bring to bear, but if you can, then they pop off. Likewise, I had like an M7 Priest given to me, so like, and I still don't quite understand the specifics. You have your core troops that you can level up with experience and unlock things, and then you can swap them out. So I've swapped some things out for Shermans, and when you finish a mission, all your dead core units get replenished. So there's sort of a contingent that is yours to level up and work with, but it would also seem by scenario you are given kind of nominal troops and vehicles for that setting. And that's how I ended up with a priest, and that thing was out of control. In fact, it pretty much won me the scenario where I was just shelling shit from across the map. But yeah, you get all sorts. Mortars, snipers, MG teams, and the sort of rock, paper, scissors interplay is core to the experience. So if you do drive tanks, vehicles, that sort of thing down like narrow sort of bush areas or city avenues, there's a very good chance you are going to get ambush overwatched by AT. So you very much have to, you know, sweep through with infantry and then support it with armor. So it's actually really, really solid. The execution on the individual units with move, and they get 2 shots and they also get overwatch, is all that they really need. I mean, there are some scenarios, I suppose you can throw smoke and all that, but it hasn't really been an important thing for me yet. You can assault point blank to do pretty much outrageous damage, and that's kind of cool as well. So you can get a unit of infantry to assault another unit of infantry, so sort of melee. But broadly speaking, it's very, very basic controls, lots of varied units. I'm over the years becoming more of a tank enthusiast with regards to the World War II area, and all the models and units are just really well detailed and really cool. So if you kind of go in for all that sort of stuff, I don't necessarily, you know, I wouldn't put that on a checklist of important things for me. But once you're there, once you're snuggled into the seat, it's kind of cool to see. So if you are a bit of a tank enthusiast, just seeing all the different makes, models, and the details, it's actually really quite cool. So anyway, I thought now was as good a time, even though it's a little bit out of season, to put this on people's radar. If maybe, you know, we are getting an influx of new people on the channel. And again, not to go circular, but there has been a bit of traffic around the Men of War 2 situation. And so perhaps if that piqued your interest or disappointed you or whatever, it got you thinking about World War 2 strategy games, have a look at Headquarters. There's a good chance you've never heard of it. It slipped under the radar. It was fairly low profile last month, but my goodness, it's a really pleasant surprise. And it's one of those blink and it's 3 a.m. sort of games. Like, I can, even though I've limited myself to that overview window, I can actually really see myself doing that, which is probably exactly what you'd be looking for in this sort of game. Anyway, I don't need to waffle. Game is really cool. Check it out. Also check out all the other things that I mentioned as well. Headquarters, that's another one that you might have missed earlier in the year. And The Troop from last year. Get your little bloody notepad out and check those things out if you are an enthusiast in this kind of space. Anyway team, might just leave it there for the time being. I'll catch you guys on the next one.